Commissioner.
Always in trouble. Trouble's my middle name, next to Jennifer.
I'd like to welcome everybody to our July meeting of the Jefferson Township Republican Organization. My name is Rich McGee, and I'm the committee man for Jefferson Township. This is Frida Keough over here in the blue. She's the committee woman. For those of you who haven't heard my explanation of that, there are 26 townships in St. Louis County. And it's a way of dividing the county up politically. It has a lot to do with elections. And each township has a committee man and a committee woman. And they're responsible for identifying and organizing the Republicans in their township.
Explain what our boundaries are.
We're basically Glendale, Webster Groves, maybe a little Shrewsbury. I don't know. You probably know them a little bit.
A little bit of Wharton Woods.
Wharton Woods, a little bit.
Little bit of driveway.
So,
Around the edges.
so we've got a challenge. We've got a challenging township from a Republican standpoint. I'm a lawyer, and I was working in the courthouse, and I felt like I was melting in this heat today with a suit on. So I kind of analogize it to the Obama administration and their meltdowns.
That's easy.
Implode, not
We can all
meltdown.
visualize that.
Yeah. So we always start off we got a good meeting tonight, and Frida does a terrific job of putting together our program. And so without further ado, we will start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. So everyone please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, at this point, I'm going to toss it over to Frida, and she's going to start our program.
Okay, you all know we have an election coming up, August 5, 2 weeks.
Thank God.
The county is still looking for poll workers. Don't be shy. Become a poll worker. That's one of the ways we can stop voter fraud inside the polls. Right, Becky? We need a Republican and a Democrat at each one of the 4 stations. We don't ever have enough Republicans. So sign up as a poll worker. We have 5 ballot measures on the ballot. I have a flyer in the back. Please pick one up and read all about it. I am not going to give you my opinion. You have to make up your own mind, but educate yourself, okay? It's important. There was something else I was going to bring up, and now I forgot.
Pick up a paper ballot.
Yes, a paper ballot, thank you so much. Do not vote electronically. Vote paper ballot, it's important. That's another way to stop voter fraud. A lot of people are still skeptical about it, but there have been some studies from a 2008 election. The studies have just been completed by some computer scientists in several counties in Florida. There was in counties or in polling places that had the same machines that we have in St. Louis County. There was an 11.5% undervote in those counties. The average undervote is 1.5%, meaning the machines lose votes. It's been proven. So if you have 5 or 6 items on your ballot, it doesn't mean they lose all those votes, but they might lose 2 or 3 of those votes. That's not good. I have been fighting with a group of people in Jefferson City, not fighting, but lobbying in Jefferson City to help eliminate the paper ballot. Most of the legislators would vote with us, but we're having a hard time getting it to the floor. So we'll just keep fighting at it. I mean, if you have a bill, Rich, how long does it take to get a bill passed?
It depends. Depends on if the governor goes along with the legislature. It could be, we could get it through the House and the Senate in a week and a half, through committees and through the House. But normally, it's a 3-month process.
But there's many bills that have gone to, I mean, people go to Jeff City for years,
Right.
right?
Right,
It's very unusual to get something passed in one session.
absolutely.
Count on several sessions. And make sure you educate all the legislators. You have a question?
No, I'm just saying, yes, yeah, I mean, totally agreeing, because I know probably a smidgen less than you know about that paper ballot bill, and I'm not very happy about it.
So, let me understand what you just said, that there's a movement up there to get rid of the paper ballot altogether?
No,
Yes,
right
no,
here.
the electronic voting machines.
Okay, I thought you said paper ballot.
I must have,
You said
oh, I'm sorry.
You did, I didn't, okay. Well, good for you for catching that.
No, we want to get rid of the electronic voting
Okay.
machines. So I encourage everybody, next week when you go to the polls, ask for a paper ballot. People claim it takes longer to use a paper ballot. That's not true. The lines are always behind the machines, okay? The lines are not in getting a paper ballot. Yes,
Freedom, let me share this with you all. I have a friend who is a judge up in North County, and when they went to examine the machines, people were voting on them, but as they had found out, all that tape had been used up already, and it was already voting, and the people who were using the machines, their votes weren't registering. It was already stacked. That's why we need to get rid of the machines.
Right.
the electronic machines, they might register the vote, and there's supposed to be a paper tape that records the vote for the audit or a recount. In many cases, in the 2012 election, there has been 12 documented cases by the technicians. The paper tape jams up, you can't read it. There is no record. The St. Louis County has admitted they do not rely on the paper tape for recounts. So what do they do in a recount? Whatever the machine says, that's what the count is, right? Can't do anything about it. So I'm urging you again, pick a paper ballot. That's my message for tonight. No, Jennifer is first. We have a whole group of people to talk to us tonight. Jennifer Bird is the candidate for the 5th
That's correct.
St. Louis County Council District. She's going to tell you, and there's a portion of Jefferson County that's within Jefferson Township, that's within the 5th district.
Correct.
So, Jennifer.
Okay, and I will be very fast. But I am also in favor of paper ballots, and I've seen a lot of issues. In fact, I got yelled at in April for being in the booth with my mother, whose hand is turning into a claw from a brachial nerve damage. You can't be with, I said she needs help. My mom finally told the man, she's telling me how to vote anyway, so just. Well, I grew up a liberal Democrat in New City, so it's important that I keep henpecking my family, just to make sure they don't slide back into remission. Okay, so I am Jennifer Bird, I'm running for 5th County Council. I think that we have a critical situation going on within our county, and I think that this entire election year is critical for our county because we have a real opportunity, and I know you know this is true, to take back the county executive seat. However you're voting on that, as long as it's voting Republican, I'm good with it. I have my preference, I won't share it now, but we really do have an opportunity to take that back. We have a 7-seat council, 2 seats are Republican, the other 5 are Democrat. I think that I have a viable chance to take the 5th district, which will give us a 3 lead because
Who currently has that seat?
Pat Dolan.
Oh.
He's a very nice man.
Yeah, I like that.
However, he happens to be part of a larger machine that just isn't working for us. And so, but I mean, he's a genuinely decent individual. We have one person I know in my work in approaching council and making requests to support legislation and usually to oppose it. We found that Hazel Irby in the 1st district is a reasonable individual who will listen. I mean, she's removed her name from co-sponsoring legislation when we've fought for 15 weeks, for example, with the Complete Streets bill. They wanted to spend $1.9 billion on complete streets. Who was in complete streets, right? You've got to love the names, they're so catchy. And so I feel that there's a real opportunity to make a real difference here. And I'd like to capitalize on that and be a part of that as well. I have a few things that I'd like to see, well, I have a lot of things I'd like to see on the county council, and Craig Niehaus was kind enough to give me a list of roads, as if none of us are aware of some of the roads that we drive on that are absolutely horrible. We've got the money, where is it? Let's spend it on
Berry
things.
Road.
Very right.
That's on the list, and I was just complaining to you about Berry Road. So also, one of the big things that I would like to see is having fiscal notes attached to every piece of legislation that's proposed or put forth to the council. You know this at the state level, every bill has a fiscal note, meaning we need to know what the estimated cost is for that legislation. There is no way you can budget your money and prioritize your expenditures unless you know what the cost is. And again, I think Rick String would agree, and he's on the budget committee, that is a necessary situation. So that's one thing, it just floors me that that's not current practice, and I find that very wrong. And so I'm asking for your support. I think that I can make a big difference, or as a good old friend, Steve Michael, I know you know who he is, at the very least you can help gum things up on the county council and prevent anything bad from going through. So I am working on literature actually as we speak. I've been working hard on a couple of campaigns for the primary. I'm very fortunate, and I do consider myself fortunate, I don't have a contested primary. Actually, I looked for a year and a half to find someone to run for this seat, and then got worried that, no one's gonna run. I'm not gonna give you the race by default. I'll stick my name in the ring.
Yeah.
So, work hard for primary. We've got to get the primary done. November's coming faster than we realize, so we've got to obviously consider that as well. And I really do think we have an opportunity to make a significant difference on our county council.
I'm the dumb one. I know very little about the county, how it all works. Does the county council work for the executive?
Not really. The executive is sort of for all intents and purposes, kind of the leader that sort of sets the tone and the agenda.
Chairman of the board.
He's the chairman of the board, and he oversees things, and the council actually is the voting voice that decides on particular legislation, for or against. And so that's probably, the meat is the council itself. I mean, the executive is also very important, but I would say that the council, and not taking anything away from the leadership position, but the council has the votes that will decide that, yes, we're gonna spend $1.9 billion on complete streets because we need more bike paths, for example.
I'm gonna write down and I'm gonna learn more about this.
Well, and you know what, they meet every Tuesday at 6 p.m. If you're going to speak to the council. That's one thing I'd also like to change. How about meetings at 7? So that people can get home and have dinner with their families and then get to Clayton and find a place to park.
Rich, one of the best things to learn about it is to just go to the meetings. It doesn't mean anything for a while because you have no idea what they're talking
Right.
about. But, you get familiar with what's going on.
And go to the council agenda. Go to the county council website and click on the agenda because they post the agenda that's coming up. And so you'll start seeing, some of the things. A lot of it won't make any difference. It'll be this plat number, this lot is 266 feet long by X. And that they're going to make a zoning variance for reduction of parking, for example, for Hobby Lobby, which is going in down in South County, Lindbergh, and just near Lindbergh and 55.
What is
So-
the website?
St. Louis
St.
County.
Louis County Council. I don't know, shame on me.
It's just St.
I
Louis
have it
County.
bookmarked on it's like my cell phone. I don't know your phone number. I just hit the button that says your
It's just the
number.
standard one, the St. Louis County.
St. Louis County Council. And you'll get it right there.
You'll find it.
And then there's a separate button for council archives or current council agenda.
Okay.
And so you can follow things that way. So I would appreciate your support. I
How
will
long
be,
are those terms?
they're 4 years.
And how long has Dolan been in? How many?
He's been in 4 years.
Okay.
This is his first term, so he's seeking reelection.
Okay. And are
And,
they term limits or no?
No, there are no term limits. I mean, I'm a proponent for term limits for some reasons, but I also see how bad it is, especially at our state level. You finally get things going well, and then people are termed out, and, then you no longer have the protection you could count on.
Do you
Yeah.
get some money for your work?
Yes, and there is a pay. I mean, it's a paying position, it's about $20,000 a year. And
Do
so.
you have any yard signs yet?
I do not yet have yard signs. I have a website, which is www.votejenniferbird.com. My committee name is Friends of Jennifer Bird. I haven't asked for money. John Winston, God love him. Ask for money. You're always doing stuff for everybody else. I'm like, I'll ask for money after the primary when I'm gonna have to get down to brass tacks for myself. Another thing I think people may need to know about me is I'm opposed to the city-county merger. And I'm still currently making trips to different meetings to alert people. I've met with Elks Club members, Knights of Columbus, various municipalities to go in. I get my sign in early and get my 3 minutes to speak and say, it's not a joke, it's really happening.
It's getting more and more traction, isn't
It
it?
is getting, and you know what really helped me not being laughed at anymore is when Better Together came rolling out in November. I'm like, oh, it's not a conspiracy if it's true. And I don't care if people laugh at me, it doesn't make any difference, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing anyway, so I would appreciate your support. I imagine I will hopefully have another brief opportunity before November to at least come in
We
and
can arrange that.
leave some literature, leave some yard signs.
Yeah, I'd like to get a yard.
Oh, and I should tell you my boundaries too.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna ask the boundaries.
Okay, north, Olive Boulevard. West is Lindbergh, south is Gravois, and east is city limits. So I've got,
It's a big
You got a
one.
lot.
it is, it's more than half of U City, which is my old stomping grounds. And, it's everything here. Well, no, because you guys have a little bit west of Lindbergh, don't you? A little piece? It's Webster, Shrewsbury, U City,
Yes, I should
Clayton.
make a map and plot you in there.
Okay,
And
Maplewood,
post it.
Richmond
This
Heights,
is a north-south configuration.
correct.
And I'm sure there's a map on the.
Online.
Online, there is, but if you just remember, city limits to the east, Olive to the north, Lindbergh to the west, and Gravois to the south.
Yeah.
It's almost a block,
And we're in it.
and we are currently in
You
it at the
didn't
moment.
mention Morrison Woods.
Morrison Woods is.
Probably not.
Probably.
No, because that's mostly on the other side of Lindbergh, isn't it?
Oh,
Oh, well then no, then yeah, then yeah.
Okay, I'll look it up, Rich,
You're right.
I apologize, goodness. So, again, I thank you for listening to me, and thank you for the opportunity, and I'm gonna
We'd love to have you back anytime.
Well, thank you.
She didn't tell you, did you, that you're a committee woman at Gravel?
Oh, I am committee, well, I tell you that, right.
My
so our
God,
meeting is
woman, you need to rise.
Well, I need to,
Take a break.
do we get a nap today?
Hey, you went on primary, you can take a break.
Yeah.
Right.
We have Rich Holman who's gonna talk to us for a few moments,
Okay, I'm
right?
sure.
He's on a mission.
When Rich came in, he was so enthused about his little project. I said, we gotta get him to talk.
Rick to Rick. I've talked to you personally, you saw an email from me about Convention of States. And some of you I talked to very briefly the last time I was here, which was a few months ago, and there were 4 or 5 of you that came up and talked to me, and I was really excited about that. Well, I was hoping that somebody would step up to the plate and be a district captain. A district captain is, a district is a house district, of which there are 163 here in the state. Well, nobody was going forward, so I signed up for it.
Oh, there goes.
Now, what did I sign up for? I signed up for trying to get our state legislature to approve an application to put forward to have a convention of states to make amendments to the U.S. Constitution. Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution allows the states, when 2/3 of them decide that they want to have a convention, then the Congress has to honor that. The U.S. Congress has to honor that, and we can have a convention. When we have this convention, we will propose amendments such as, excuse me, let me back up, to limit the power and jurisdiction of the federal government. Things like a balanced budget amendment. I mean, you have to balance your budget, don't you? Federal government ever balance their budget? No. Are they gonna fix it? No. I could go on with those kind of things. I need your help, though. This is what I need. We are doing a grassroots movement. And that table with the red tablecloth on it, that is my table right now, or should I say it's our table. And it's not, this is not a bipartisan issue. You're not gonna hear anything about, social issues and things like that. This is strictly the federal government taking too much power, and we gotta rein them in. So I need your help. I need you to sign the petition that's back there. It explains better than what I've said. If you don't feel comfortable signing the petition, put your name and an email on there, and I'll send you some information. Because since this is grassroots, I need everybody to help me out. I have 7 people signed up on my team right now. So I only need 93 more to reach my goal. Let's see.
So what is it, county district?
7, 8. Oh, you guys can help me a lot.
Well, so your district, let's say you get the signatures you need, okay? And so every other district's got a person like you that's trying to get signatures.
We hope every other district
Okay, well,
gets.
how many, what do they need to make us become a convention of states?
One of my
Well,
very good friends
we just-
in
the
Java
bottom line to that
is
is we
running
need our
for July, my
legislature.
time.
Oh, and by getting these signatures, that's gonna cut, I
Petitions.
see.
But and Rick can tell you this better than I can. The squeaky wheel gets the
Yeah,
grease.
okay, so let's
And
say
so the
it
more
passes
people-
in Missouri, but you gotta get all these other states to
right.
pass the 2/3.
We have 3 right now.
Oh, okay.
There's 4 or 5 more that are on the verge.
Okay.
I would be tickled to death if this next session, we got it through. It has been through a couple of committees, and I was just informed by one of the people here, and Rick can correct me on that when the session ends, you go back to square one.
That's correct.
So I'm back at square one. I was so excited. What got me started on this? I was so excited because I went to Jeff City to attend a hearing, and the room was filled with patriots that were there for the Convention of States. I couldn't believe
Oh,
it.
that's exciting.
So there were probably 25 of us in there, and I thought when I went up there, it would be more than 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So, please, let me talk to you about it. If you don't want to sign the petition, put your name on that list. I'll send you some information. Conventionofstates.com. We're going to do it.
Good job.
I would like to introduce next Jack Spooner, candidate for Senate District 24. And Jefferson Township has a tiny little piece. So if you live in that area, I think it's worth some boots, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And a little bit more. You can find out about Jack Spooner.
Thanks for your. Very brief. I am Jack Spooner. I'm the primary, the Republican primary in 2 weeks. I usually start off by telling people that I am the only candidate that's running that's a lifelong resident of my district. I was born, grew up, part of the district. I walk it every day. Wherever I go, I run into people. I don't come here, I see Rich. I get an email today because my mailers went out from a lady who taught one of my kids in nursery school. Not a day goes by where I don't have a connection. And the reason I talk about that, and the reason why I think that's important, because I hold myself out as I call as a constitutional conservative. And if we look at our Constitution, when our founding fathers wrote it, they started it off with the 3 words, "We the people." And when you look at that, and you wonder, why did they do that? Why is at the very beginning of the document that creates our basis for government and laws? It's because they envisioned that the people who would represent us and their legislators would be people from their communities, part of their communities, who would leave their jobs, go and do their work, representing their people. When they would be finished, they'd go back and be part of their communities. Well, unfortunately, we've kind of lost our way because that's not happening anymore. We're ending up with political or professional politicians. We're ending up with people who are running maybe not simply to help people or to be part of a process, but maybe they want to get their name out or do something else, or just not the real reasons why we have government. And we have that government, so we have our elected officials being accountable to us. And that's what I bring. That's what I tell people, because I will look my people in the eye every day and tell them why I did and what I did. And it will always be based on what's best for the people and not what somebody else outside of my district, some establishment or someone in Washington, D.C. tells me I have to do. I have to do what's best for my district. I tell people, if you want a senator who's going to protect your liberties and freedoms, then you need to elect somebody who has direct experience with that issue. Both of my parents had to flee from their countries of birth because their freedoms and liberties were taken away from them, stripped. They had to flee. I understand what it's like and why it's important that we have to protect every bit of that and teach our children why that's important. If you want somebody who's going to go to Jeff City and work hard for you and represent your interests, then elect somebody who started working when he was 12 years old and has worked every day since, who's had to earn everything that I have, pay my own way through college, pay my own way through law school, working every day to provide for my family, and who's trying to give something back at this point. And I can go on and on. I would find that most of my values and most of my principles are your basic Republican values and principles. My mailer went out today. I see Rick brought one in here. I saw it on the internet, and it's pretty good. If anyone wants to take a look at that, it kind of sums everything up. You need somebody that's going to watch out for your interests, something like the city-county merger. I can't tell you, because it's not my job to tell you whether you should vote for it or against it. It's my job to protect you and to make sure that the Constitution is not trampled on. And our Constitution says that if we're going to adjust the borders of the city and the county, we get to vote on it. Citizens of St. Louis City, St. Louis County. It's my job to make sure that the Constitution is protected and you're protected. And it even goes up with the U.S. and the Constitution. We have to make sure that we start following our constitutional principles. Rick gave me that brochure, and there's a lot of what's in that brochure. It's a lot of what we talk about. There's limited government. As a state, we have to start taking care of ourselves. We have to start making our own decisions. We can't keep having the federal government tell us how we're supposed to educate our children, or we're supposed to take care of our people who need taken care of with social services. We need to do it ourselves. And you're going to start doing that when you start electing people who come to you who aren't tied to any type of special interest or any type of special groups and aren't worried about whether someone's going to get elected in Washington, D.C. in 2 years. What I want to do is make sure that we have the representation we deserve and start a trend so we have our people in Jeff City answering to our needs, to improve our economy, to improve our situations, and not somebody else's. So that sums up. If I take questions, I know Rick wanted to ask a question.
I'm not gonna ask you about the convention of states, because we
Okay.
already talked about it. Okay, great. Living in the area that you're running for, that's wonderful. Is there anything you want to say that sets you apart from your opponent?
And who is your opponent?
Well, I have two opponents. I have
yeah.
one fella who's lived in Missouri, or lived in St. Louis for less than 2 years in the district. I don't even know a year.
Who is that?
Rick or Hicks.
Okay.
Ron Hicks, and you have to look at this information. And then Jay Ashcroft, who's actually lived in the district since it was redistricted, but has been in the area for 10 years. So we talk about Republicans. Well, what you're going to get with me is you're going to get somebody who you know and you can count on is going to be accountable to you first. I don't have anybody else that's supporting me. I'm happy to say I have no huge endorsements. I didn't want them. I don't believe that this position is one where you want to be tied in to either Washington, D.C. or to any of the federal or even a lot of the state elected officials. You need to be your own person, and you need to be responsive to what your community needs. And you can't do that if you come to office and you're tied down with too many other people, because then they all start telling you what to do, and you don't know what you're gonna end up with. With me, you know what you're gonna end up with, and you know that you're always gonna see me. You're always gonna find me in the district. I'm not going anywhere. And I put a pledge on my website that states, I'm taking this job, I'm running for 4 years, I'm not using it as a stepping stone, I'm not using it to look for anything else other than to serve the people that I grew up with and my community that have been a part of my entire life.
So you are implying, I believe, that one of your opponents is probably getting some big money, maybe, something like that?
Well, I mean, it's all public
That's the way it
information.
works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm uninformed, I guess.
Here, what I'd ask you is, okay, the Post-Dispatch did an article, you can Google that, it's pretty
Okay.
good. And then go to the Missouri Times. Missouri Times did profiles on all the candidates, and they did, the profile of the Missouri Times wrote on me, I thought was an excellent piece and encapsulated the exact principles of what I stand for and why I'm running. I had a 2-hour interview with this guy, and he basically put together a 3-minute read that it puts in a nice little package, and then I think you get a real understanding. Because
He compares the candidates, you know.
no, he just tells what the candidates stand for.
Okay.
And look, and we've all been here. How many of these have you heard politicians stand up and they all tell you the same thing? I'm a family man, I'm a shrink government, yada, yada, yada. It's the same old thing. And where are we now? Nothing changes because we keep electing the same people. That's why I don't come up here and I say, you know, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna, you know, of course we're gonna try to limit government. Of course we're gonna try to improve the economy. But the real thing is you need somebody that you know is gonna go in and stand up for the community the entire time they're down there. And try to bring people together. That's the other thing. As a lawyer for the last 30 years, that's what we do, is we, you know, 95% of our cases settle. That's because lawyers will try to work through and negotiate complex situations to have a result that probably nobody likes at the end of the day, but it's really the best thing for both, you know, both clients. And that's what Jeff City needs to do. Instead of taking hard positions and not negotiating things, we need to bring people together. We have a majority down there in the Senate. We need to be able to come together and work on issues, teamwork, get things done. And that's my philosophy in terms of how government should come together. That's real.
Can you tell us a little bit about your professional background?
Well, I mean, after college, I went straight to law school, and it's a civil practice, so I basically represent individuals and small businesses. I'm in court almost every day. My job is to protect my clients' interests, and I practice in a wide variety of subject matters, so I have a pretty good base, and a pretty good understanding in terms of where we can have some fixes in corporate law and workers' compensation law and employment law. And those things are important because we have to start eliminating barriers to business growth. And we still have some laws, some systems in place that slow down business. So we need somebody who understands it and how to remove it. Another issue is privacy. We need somebody to understand how we're going to protect our privacy. Right now, there's a system where you can see anyone who has any case pending in St. Louis County. Well, now we have cases that are really not, they're almost criminal, but they're civil. So if somebody can be accused of something, they got to go to court to defend themselves, and they may win, but all the people are going to see on the court record is that they're going to see, oh, this person was accused or had this situation. It's the reason why we keep arrest records confidential, keep them private. And we should work on keeping some of these court records private as well. We've gone way overboard, you know, with red light cameras and cop cars that drive around and track where you're going. And, you know, government isn't supposed to do that. You know, they're supposed to health, safety, and welfare, not try to make money and profit off of us based on violating our privacy rights. Okay, well, I know, I gotta go.
Good job.
Okay, where's Kenny? Did he leave already?
He left with Jen. He had to get to her meeting.
Kenny Newhouse was gonna say a few words about Amendment 7, the tax, the road tax, and he's against it, so vote no if Kenny was talking to you. But Rick,
Keep it tight.
Yes.
no, that, Rick is running for St. Louis County Executive.
Rick is running, we appreciate it.
You have all the time, the rest of the time.
Are you speaking, Gina?
No, I'm
Are you
just,
sure?
yes,
She's just
I
here
did
to
the
watch.
last time, I'm just here
Okay.
watching.
But before I talk about my race, I want to tell you all, Judy Jack-Sedek is running to replace me in the Missouri House of Representatives.
She's been here twice already.
Okay, I know that.
Well, we got new people.
But
He's a commercial.
I want you all to sign up for a yard sign for Gina, all right? There are way too many Def Lavender signs out there.
Yes.
Way too many, and Gina needs to get her sign, so you all need
I'll
to
take one.
I
Get a
brought a
sign.
bunch with me.
Oh,
Thank you
good.
for doing, I have a bunch in my car.
Get Gina. We need to have Gina down in the state legislature. We do not need Deb Lavender. Gina has great record of service in Kirkland. She's on the city council. all right? Deb Lavender has done nothing in Kirkwood for all the years she's lived there, except run against me 3 times, and now Gina. She's put her signs out 7 times.
Yeah,
She's
made
done
signs.
no volunteer work, no nothing in Kirkwood. She doesn't deserve to be elected, because we don't even know who she is, to be honest with you. And yet she just keeps running. The Democrats think they're gonna win this time, so definitely help Gina. She's a great gal, she'll be a leader down in Jefferson City in our caucus. She's smart, she's got great qualifications, she knows how to listen to people. She's somebody Jack talked about working together. Gina can do that, she's proven it on the Kirkwood City Council. We need to have her down in Jefferson City. All right.
Amen.
Thank you.
All right. The race of the state. This county executive race is the race for the state of Missouri this year. Make no mistake about it. The state auditor race is not a contest. The Democrats did not file a candidate. First time in 148 years that a major party in Missouri has not fielded a candidate in a statewide race. The Democrats are dispirited, they're disappointed, and in this particular race, the 2 Democrats, you might have seen some commercials, Julie and Stenger are beating the living daylights out of each other, okay? So they're gonna spend about $1 million each in this primary to just beat each other up. So we have a great opportunity this year to win this race. A great opportunity. First time in 24 years we can get the Republican county executives in there. And what does that mean for the Republican Party in the state of Missouri? This is what it means. We win St. Louis County Executive this year, the largest Democrat voting county in the state. In 2016, people like Eric Schmidt and Kurt Schaefer and all the other people, Peter Kinner, whoever's going to run statewide, they are in a much better position now to win statewide. And here's why, because the National Democratic Party will look at Missouri and say, well, it used to be a bellwether state, now it's trended red. The last 2 elections, it's voted against Obama, and massive amounts against his health care plan. They're going to look at this state and say, well, if the largest Democrat voting county just elected a Republican, what chance do we have to win this state in the presidential election of 2016? Therefore, they're likely maybe not to spend any money in this state to win presidentially, which means the turnout for Democrats gets lower, and we have a much better chance of winning statewide offices. And if we want to accomplish a lot of the things through the legislature and not have the vetoes of the governor, we need to have the governor's office as well as lieutenant governor all the way down the line. So it's extremely important that we win this race, and we are in a great position this year to do it. We did a poll. I paid $28,000 to have a poll done. It wasn't out of my checking account, it was out of my campaign account. The poll was done by the same company who polled 4 years ago when Bill Corrigan was running. And everything that was positive about Charlie Dooley 4 years ago is now down in the dumps. 20%, 30%. Re-electability, favorability, job performance, all that stuff is down 20, 30%. Right? Which is why, one of the reasons he has such a difficult primary to get through. Right? So, and when my information is placed before these voters in this poll, and nothing negative about Charlie or Stenger, but they just explain what I've done, and I'll explain that a little bit. I win pretty convincingly, about 30 points. Now, I'm not going to win the race by 30 points, but point is, if I raise the money, which is gonna be about $1 million, and get my message out, and we just filmed TV on Monday, and we've got the radio ads coming up starting in a couple of days. Very positive message about who I am and what I've done and what I wanna do in the county. I think we're gonna make a big difference, and we're gonna win this race. I'm confident that we are. A little bit about myself. A lot of you already know me, of course, being your representative out here, but I just want to throw a few other things in there. I've lived in St. Louis County all my life, in Kirkwood. I'm second oldest of 8 children. When I was 14, my dad passed away suddenly, and we had no money. My mom was a widow now with 8 young children, 16 down to 9 months old. We had no insurance, no income, no money. So we had been working, cutting grass from the time we were 8 or 9 months old. 8 or 9 years old. There's 7 boys and a girl. I was 14 and I started painting houses an extra. I painted 4 houses in Kirkwood. One of them was a pathologist house at St. Joseph Hospital, which is over where Aberdeen Heights is right now. He hired me to work in the lab that fall. I don't know if he gave me the job because he thought I did a good job painting his house, or he knew I had no future in house painting. Either way, I got the job. I worked there nearly full time through high school and college. Everything we earned, of course, we gave to mom so she could pay the bills and keep the family running. I graduated from Merrimack and then UPSL and went into the Navy. This was back in 1971. The Vietnam War was going, of course, and all of us boys had to serve one way or the other. So I enlisted in the Navy, went to officer candidate school, and was commissioned an officer. Went to a ship. I was a navigator on my ship and served 4 years in the Navy. That's where I got my first leadership training, in the Navy. The military is a great place to go if you want to be taught how to be a leader. And now, of course, women are going into, so I tell young people, if you want to be a leader, try to get in the military because it's really good for you. So that's where I first started to learn how to be a leader, how to manage people and do all the other things you need to do to lead. When I got out of the Navy, I got married to my wife, Ellen. We've been married 38 and a half years, have 4 kids and 3 grandkids. Of course, we all live in Kirkwood, you know. I went to work for the Department of Defense as a budget project manager. Did that for almost 30 years. In the meantime, I was on the Kirkwood School Board for 12 years. I was president 2 of those years. I retired early from the government job in 2006 at the urging of people like Rich McGee and others to run for the 94th district, as it was labeled back then. It was all Kirkwood Repair, against an incumbent. You might remember the name, Jane Bugetto. I won that election in 2006, a terrible Republican year, by the way. It was one of the few Republicans who took out an incumbent Democrat in the entire country, as it turned out. So I've been in the legislature for 8 years, on the budget committee all 8 years. I've been the vice chairman and chairman for 6 of those 8 years. I'm currently the chairman, of course. The Missouri legislature, unlike the federal government, we balance our budget every year, we've cut spending, we've lowered taxes, and we have a AAA bond rating. One of only 7 states that have a AAA bond rating from all 3 bonding agencies. So we've done our job in Missouri fiscally, and we can be proud of that, I think.
Who's the chairman of the budget committee?
Oh, I'm the chairman of the budget committee. I do work with the Senate. You know, it's, I'll get into that later. But we have done our job. In addition, this particular year, I was the House handler, the House sponsor for the education of the student transfer bill. You know about the uncredited school districts up in North County, Riverview and Normandy. I handled the bill in the House. And frankly, to be honest with you, as my mother used to breaking my arm, patting myself on the back, the sponsor of the bill and Tim Jones said, Rick, there was only one person in the Missouri House who would have passed this bill through the House, and it was you. Because I had the credibility with my education background and my ability to work with a lot of people in the legislature on both sides of the aisle to get that job done. And we did pass it. Unfortunately, of course, the governor vetoed it because of one little issue. We allowed kids to go to private schools, non-sectarian schools in their own district, to get out of those failing schools that they were in. So I have a lot of leadership and management experience that I think as we go forward will make a difference in this campaign. And also when I am the county executive, we're going to turn this county around. Okay? We have a 55,000 net job loss the last 10 years. 55,000 jobs. Who in this room or in this county, other than the diehard Dooley fans, think that this county is being run properly? Nobody does, right? There's corruption and mismanagement and incompetence at high levels in county government. And that has to stop, and I'm gonna stop it. I've got 42 years of management and leadership experience. I know how to hire people, I know how to train them and evaluate them. I have to fire them occasionally when they don't do the job. I know how to do that. I've worked in bureaucracy, so I know how to reduce the size of the bureaucracy. In the Missouri legislature, we've cut 10% of the state workforce in the last 8 years, from 60,000 down to 54,000. That's something that most people don't even know, don't even talk about. We should talk about that more. That's a major success on the part of the legislature, because that's where the money, the taxpayer dollars go in a bureaucracy, or in a government. It goes to the people who are working for the bureaucracy. In a school district, 80% of the budget is personnel. And in our state, it's the same way. So we've cut 10% this year, in this year's budget that starts next year, actually started in 2015 this year, I cut another 1% out. So that's how you do it. And as a county executive, I will look at all the departments, do audits, and have reviews of every department, so that we can determine where the waste, fraud, and abuse is. We know there is waste, fraud, and abuse. We don't have to determine if there is some. We know that there's waste, fraud, and abuse. Now, there may be different levels. I think it's mostly waste, to be honest with you. But there is some fraud and abuse that we'll root out too. But it's all about leadership. Charlie talks about his experience. Well, our experience with Charlie has been disastrous. I mean, he's not a leader in any shape or sense of the word. So we've got to have somebody in there who's a real leader, who's had experience leading people for 40 years like I have, and who can make a difference, and we will turn this county around. We've got to create a climate where business wants to operate in St. Louis County. The rules and regulations now are stifling. I've heard from so many business people, men and women who have small and medium-sized businesses, who say it's impossible to work with St. Louis County. It takes 3 weeks instead of 3 hours to get a permit, or 3 months. I mean, it's ridiculous. So we've got to turn all of that around, put in place honest, professional people who will view public service the way I do. And that is that we public servants serve the public, not the other way around. So we're going to, like I said, we're going up on radio and TV in a couple of days. Look for the ads. They're going to be positive about me and what I've done and who I am and what I want to do for the county. And then tell all your friends. Here's my one ask of you. You can all get yard signs if you want, please. But when you talk to somebody, get out of your comfort zones. We all send these emails to everybody we know, and we're all getting the same emails. All right, that's great. But talk to your friends and neighbors and your people at church who may not be politically active or politically in tune with the way you believe. And just ask them this question. Do you think St. Louis County government's being run properly? If they say anything but yes, then say, Rick Stream is the guy that can change all of that. He's the one that can make the difference in St. Louis County and turn this county around so that the people of this county, as I remember when I was growing up, it was a great place to live, work, and play. And that's what we want to get it back to, where their jobs are here, and people can work at these jobs, provide for their families, their communities, and their schools. That's what we want to do, is improve the lives of the people of St. Louis County. And that's what I plan to do. So thanks for your support. I'll take any questions.
I attended my first county council meeting a few months ago, and I was shocked to see Charlie Dooley's lips never moving. Is he supposed to participate?
I know some of the questions were asked to Jennifer about the process that goes on in the county council. The county executive is not a member of the council. He has no vote, okay? He can recommend certain things, but the council acts on legislation on their own. The chief counsel can recommend things like they do in normal, as Rich would know, in cities, of course. But unlike the mayor in a city who does have a vote, the county executive does not. Now, one thing the county executive does have, he is the budget king. He submits his budget, and the council has virtually no control over it. Virtually no control. Now, the budgets that I've worked with at the state level are $26 billion, $15 billion with the federal government on the Army helicopter programs. School board, of course, was $50 million. The county council budget is, the county budget is about 600 million. So in two of the cases, I've actually worked with budgets that are much larger than the county budget. So whereas we have hundreds of thousands of budget lines in the state budget that we go through, the county budget's much smaller than that, and I feel very confident that I'm going to be able to do that job. Look through every single line. We're going to call in the departments and have them explain every single line of their budget. I mean, Gina's on the council, she knows how this works. This is how it works in a smaller city. The county's bigger, but we have to do the job. That's what we're getting paid for, is to go through there and find out where the money's being spent and if we can save the taxpayer dollars. So that's why as opposed to the governor and the legislature or the president and Congress, this executive has almost absolute control over the budget.
Plus, doesn't he appoint people?
Yes.
I mean, not without any opposition?
Right.
Everybody has to approve it, or?
Well, there is a kind of an approval process, but when you have 5 Democrats and 2 Republicans, you can see that things. Again, back to leadership. You've got to be able to pick people who are honest and have integrity, number one, and who are skilled at their jobs. They're professionals. They know what they're doing. And Charlie's been a complete failure at that. I don't think that there's any difference really between Charlie Dooley and Steve Stenger. They're both Democrats, they're both incumbents, and right now they're arguing over who's more responsible for the mess of St. Louis County. I mean, think about it. Until Steve Stenger decided to run for county executive, he voted with Charlie every time. All these appointments, all this money being spent or misspent, Steve Stenger voted for.
What was Stenger?
He's a county councilman.
Okay.
He's from the, is that the first district? No, that's, what is that down there? Second down there. So, yeah, it's not, if you want real change, vote for me, okay? Because I'm not gonna be the good old boy like Steve Stenger will and keep all those people in place and all the rules and regulations in place to help his union buddies. Our job is to create jobs in the county for everybody. Union, non-union, white, black, young, old, who cares? We just need jobs. Good paying, full-time jobs with benefits. And that's not happening right now.
Of those two characters we hear about a lot, which one you could put on the easier to beat?
Yeah, well, I actually beat him by almost similar amounts in this poll that was taken. If you ask me, Charlie is the incumbent. I never bet against the incumbent. People ask me who's going to win their primary. I have no idea. But I don't vote against the incumbent, especially when it's Charlie Dooley and he turns out to be Sheen up in North County. All right, so that's why Steve Stenger, I think, is sending very expensive, slick, glossy mailers to known Republicans like me, asking me to vote for him in the primary. Yeah, he sent me one. I wanted to send it back to you. You know that I'm running against you. That Stenger, he wants Republicans to get out, not vote in our primary, and go over and try to determine their primary. We don't want that to happen. Let them decide who their opponent, who their candidate's going to be. We'll stay in our primary. Hopefully you vote for me, and we'll get a good jump into the general election. If it's Charlie, I think he's easier to beat because he is the incumbent. And I don't think you're going to see any of the Stenger people going back to Charlie this time around. No, we're going to go after whoever loses the primary. We're going to go after their supporters. But I don't see a lot of black people vote Republican. Although I do have a lot of support in the black community from the legislators, the senators and the representatives who have said, even if it's Charlie, they're going to support me. Now, when push comes to shove, we'll see how much pressure Charlie puts on him to support this white Republican down in America. We'll see. You got a question?
Yeah, I was just over at the county today, and the media was over there, and I asked them what they, I thought maybe they were covering a trial. They were actually there to cover the Booth investigation, and they want to get the FBI report released. And I think they got a shot at getting it released, and that could potentially be huge.
It's
Is that against Charlie?
Charlie. It's against Charlie. It's the health department. Some guy basically embezzled $3.5 million and then killed himself.
Got it, got it.
So, again, there are so many examples of mismanagement and corruption of the Dooley administration, it's hard to document them all in a short time. I don't see how anybody could possibly vote for the guy, to be honest with you, but he will get his supporters out. He was very clever in the state representative races up in the black community up there, that he made sure there were 2 or 3 candidates in every race to drive up the vote at the primary date for those races. So it's, you know, he's got a formidable machine, but I think there are so many people who are just turned off by it, even in his own community, that they may not vote for him. So we'll see. I mean, that's their decision to make. We've just got to make sure that we stay in our primary, vote for our people, and then what we don't want to do is give Stanger a big victory. Because what that will do is that will send a message to a lot of Democrats, hey, we now have the change we want from Charlie. No, we don't want that to happen. We want the election to be very close. Like I said, I'd rather fix Dooley, but you know, I'm just going to wait for them to decide what they want to do. There are so many examples of waste and mismanagement in the county government. It's not just the corruption that's out there. It's just a plethora of examples of where money has been squandered on a lot of different, and that's our tax dollars that are being squandered. It's our tax money. So we need to make sure that that money is protected and that we spend it wisely and return it to the people of the county if we don't need to spend it. Reduce the size of the bureaucracy and return the money to the people. That's what we need to do. Well, thanks for your support. Appreciate it.
Well, that's it for tonight. Thank you all very much for coming. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to go to the polls. Become a voter.
Stick around for our wine and cheese.
Vote paper ballot, and don't have some wine and cheese.
Convention of States.
Yeah.
What?
I was thinking,
You'll all sign up.
You will?
I told on the phone, I just wanted to say, we gotta get this on vacation, you know, and we didn't have to run.
Okay.
Right, Frida, you're gonna work on amendments, right?
Yes.
Over to Wyoming.